We have a wonderful team of people assembled here, all of whom have been intimately involved in the Charting Our New Course Transformation Initiative. Before we get to that, though, I want to say thank you to a couple of my very important colleagues. Two colleague presidents are here, Dr. Maureen Murphy from our neighbor at Brookdale. Everybody knows Maureen, and thank you for being here, Maureen. And also Maggie McMenamin, Dr. Margaret McMenamin from Union County College, and a native Ocean Countyan, grew up in Jackson. So we're delighted to have both of you here. We're very proud to have two of our very finest trustees, our board chair, Mr. Van Tulien. I think Van is the longest serving trustee living in New Jersey. No, Van was, I think, vice chair of the board for about 15 years, and then has become chair of the board for another 12, maybe?
Larry still had hair.
That far back. Now, Van has done a fabulous job as the chair of our board, and we're very fortunate. We have so many wonderful board members. And Joanne Palavanian is also with us tonight. Joanne is actually one of our newer members. I think the next, she was replaced by a new rookie. So, albeit she's been on the board now for how long, Joanne? 5 years. She was our rookie until Joe Teichman was appointed just recently. So thank you both for being here. I can't say enough about our board. They have been absolutely wonderful to work with. We're really blessed to have some great presenters here tonight. Dr. Norma Betts, our Vice President of Student Affairs. Norma, give a wave. Dr. Lisa DiPaseglia, who is our Associate VP of Academic Affairs. These are all people who have played critical roles in charting our new course. Alexa Beshara-Blouth, our Executive Director of Institutional Planning, Effectiveness, and Compliance. Hard to get that title on one piece of paper.
Very long, yeah.
But she's worth it, believe me. Sabrina Matthews, the Director of Off-Campus Programs and Chair of our Guiding Coalition. She'll talk a little bit about what that is. Jen Fazio, the Director of Student Life, and Jen is going to talk about a particular perspective on participating in this exercise. And Veronica Guevara-Lovgren, Coordinator of Academic Support Services, the Writing Center, a wonderful new addition to our team who's made wonderful critical contributions to this effort. It would, of course, not be possible without our consultants, two people who've done marvelous work for us and with us, and have become really kind of members of the family over the 3 years, I think, that we've been working together so far. We envisioned this initially as a 5-year program to develop and bring to a point where we were ready to assume that we had a finished product, and we're getting there, but we have a little bit more to go. But it has been an extraordinary experience for our campus, and it has brought the campus together in a way that nothing we've ever done before has accomplished. Dr. Don Norris, the principal of Strategic Initiatives Incorporated, and Dr. Tim Gilmore, who is also a principal in the firm now, and former president of Wilkes University in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, also a fellow employee of the University of Maryland. I was down in the vineyard while he was up in the chancellor's office, but we were there at the same time. And they both bring a world of experience and wonderful talent to the program. So we're going to get started now with Don Norris kicking us off, and then we'll proceed through with all of our participants telling you all about what we have done. Don?
I think you're going to find this to be an exciting conversation tonight. We have some things we want to tell you, but then we want all of us to engage in conversation about what this team has done working together. My happy chore this evening is to start off with showing you a timeline of how everything came together, to talk about the frameworks we used and the transformative mission that we came up with, and then pass the baton to the rest of our team to tell you some more. It all started in 2013, where Tim and I were brought in to assist John and the board with a week-long assessment of the institution situation. An institution that had done some wonderful things, had some great aspirations, but needed a real organizational development activity, not just a strategic plan, but an organizational development activity to make it all happen. So based on that assessment, which Tim will tell you the outcomes from, we formed a Charting Our New Course project team which spawned a set of strategic action teams that began to look at the strategies that we had promoted during the assessment. During that time, we appointed a guiding coalition, which was a cross-functional group composed of people from across the whole college community and some outside stakeholders too, to serve as the stewards and conscience of the process. And you'll be hearing from Sabrina Matthews, who is serving now as the chair of the guiding coalition. So we had the Charting Our New Course project team, the guiding coalition, and we created, through the strategy action teams, Strategies for Success, a strategic planning document. You have in your white folder a picture of the strategies, which we're going to talk about, and Sabrina and Alexa will tell you more about. You also have in your white folder a one-page description of the 5-year scenario. Our strategic plan didn't just have the strategies for the institution, it has a 5-year scenario about what the institution will look like, and a 2-year scenario to which the strategies are all tied. So the Strategies for Success was pulled together in 2015 and is still being manipulated and refined. As we're speaking, it's a living document. But we have moved on to execute those strategies, and there are teams working to execute them, and they've been passed into the organization for execution. We also spawned, as part of Strategy 7, Process Reinvention, a Student Success Experience Task Force, and Veronica and Jen will be telling you a little bit more about the excellent things that that group has done, introduced by Dr. Norma Betts. These strategic plans have been used to iterate the annual plans. Every year, a planning and budgeting process is spawned by these strategies. And every year, they are updated and translated into actions and into budgets. We are looking to revise the Strategy for Success document in 2 years because we have a 2-year scenario in there that has to be refreshed. And then we're looking again to revise it in 4 or 5 years to refresh the 5-year cycle on which the plan is. I wanted to mention the last piece because in addition to helping with the strategies and supporting the organizational development, Tim and I have also started to support the college through trying to help to identify and collaborate new revenue streams that can be brought to the table, revenue streams that would not have percolated up through the normal process at the institution. This slide is a depiction of this, and you'll be seeing this again when Alexa and Sabrina tell you a bit about the 8 strategies. We used a performance excellence model to be the basis for the strategies for a very simple reason. Ocean, like many institutions, had great plans, great strategies, and great activities. But where they were running into problems is how do we bring people together, mobilize the energies and the talents of the institution to make all these things happen. To do that, you need to focus on performance excellence. And you'll see by looking at the elements here, the leadership triad, the operations triad, all of which tied together, the use of information, all of our strategies combine these different elements. And this requires the institution to focus on how we're going to develop the talent, how we're going to develop the processes, not just having innovative ideas and programs, but how do we translate it into talent development and organizational change. So this led us, through the strategic planning process, to the generation of a new mission for the institution. And so we have captured the aspirations of Ocean County College to transform itself in 4 essential ways. First of all, while the traditional mission had us meeting some learning and learning development needs of the citizens of Ocean County, the new expanded transformative mission has us meeting the learning, human, economic, and cultural development needs of the citizens of the county. We've added cultural development and other things there to expand the vision of what this campus is going to provide. Secondly, while we began by providing learning offerings at the associate degree level and non-credit continuing education, we've expanded the scope to reinvent traditional offerings, to broker degree credit learning at the bachelor's, master's, and doctoral levels in a wide range of disciplines through partnerships with other institutions. So rather than being solely a provider, we are both a provider and a broker through partnerships to serve the people of the county. The third part is while in the past we were primarily providing face-to-face learning, somewhat augmented by online learning, the transformed vision was to provide a full range of face-to-face, hybrid, and online learning options reaching a global audience. The global part, and reaching out to a global audience and using that to build the financial resources of the institution to better serve the people of Ocean County, was a fundamental part of that transformation. And finally, looking at the finances, to move from just managing the institution's finances in a professional and sustainable way, we are moving to achieve exceptional financial strength by augmenting traditional revenue sources with substantial net revenues from out-of-county sources. The notion that Little Ocean County College, and we have a diagram, we have a pictorial in the strategic plan that shows the tendrils of Ocean County College extending around the globe. The notion that this college, located here in Toms River, could be serving an international clientele and using that to generate net revenue that can enhance the success of the operations here is profoundly important. And it's something that community colleges and senior institutions across the country and the world are going to have to deal with in order to create a stronger financial base for themselves.
So moving towards the goal of our tendrils going around the globe and world domination, if you will, we have devised 8 specific strategies that Alexa and I will be detailing for you. The first of which is strategy 1, which is to craft and execute transformative strategies. This is our broad umbrella effort through which the other strategies have been devised, adapted, and continue to be implemented. So this strategy focuses primarily on stewarding the change management process, and it's through this strategy that we have formed our guiding coalition and the principles through which our project managers and guiding coalition are operating. Our second strategy, which is to build resilience through innovation, reinvention, and new programs, focuses primarily on the what, if you will, of what Ocean County College's mission is. This focuses on the services and the programs, what we're offering to our students and to the community. The key highlight of this particular strategy is how it is stratified into 2 different tracks, Track A and Track B, in which Track A focuses on the reinvention of our traditional or legacy programs, and Track B focuses on innovation. While the Track A programs are primarily being looked at in terms of being responsive to external and internal forces, Track B programs are looking at how we might even change the discourse and dialogue surrounding how we deliver higher education. While divergent in their specific goals and in their operation, these tracks are both forward-focused in responding to and creating organizational resilience. Whereas strategy 2 is focused on the what, strategies 3 and 4 focus primarily on the who. Strategy 3, which is to develop leadership and fill key positions, is the strategy through which we seek to define our leadership principles at the college. The key here is also to recognize leadership potential within the members of our organization and to develop those members in accordance with a succession plan and creating legacy for the college. And the question of who will lead is followed by who will we be serving. Strategy 4, which is to understand and meet the needs of stakeholders, represents a commitment to the development of knowledge of student learning needs through analytics and big data. And an additional component of this is a focus on outreach and marketing. And this strategy is key to being attentive to not only our community and students, but also to some of the global orientation that we're developing through all of our strategies.
Okay, so moving on to strategy number 5, we have create a challenging and supportive work environment. So this is where we're looking at human resources and its integration into our institution. So we want to recruit talented employees. We want to retain and develop talented employees. So we're going to be looking at that entire process around the realm of human resources. In addition, this is tied in very closely with strategy 3 that Sabrina mentioned as far as developing leadership. So that is another aspect, of course, of creating a challenging and supportive work environment. When we look at strategy number 6, this is where we are leveraging collaboration, partnership, and sharing. The focus here is really on building mutually beneficial relationships and partnerships, not only within Ocean County, but internationally as well. For example, we have some recent initiatives that have occurred in Egypt, which include partnering with not only higher education institutions, but also large global corporate entities. So we really are shooting big here and are going big. Strategy number 7 is continuously improve learning support processes and practices. Now, Don did allude to an initiative that we'll be talking about a little bit later, which is a direct outcome of the strategy. I don't want to get into details. I want you on the edge of your seat, and I'm going to leave that as a mystery for now. But what we're really looking at here are the processes, policies, and procedures on campus, evaluating them and seeing how we can enhance them to improve our learning support processes. Now, 8, this one is very much dear to my heart as someone who is involved in institutional research. Linda knows me well. She knows that this is definitely dear. So strategy number 8 is to leverage information and results. We're really looking at all aspects of how we can improve turning data into information. We're looking at the technological aspects, how we can better use technology to take all of that data, turn it into information, institution-wide, all across campus, seeing how we can make better informed decisions. So with that being said, I'm now going to turn it back over to Sabrina, who's going to tell us a little more about the Guiding Coalition.
Thank you. So in terms of how are we doing all of this, who is paying attention? Well, part of the WHO is the Guiding Coalition. And again, this was formed under the auspices of Strategy 1 as we steward the change process. The members of the Guiding Coalition are the primary representatives both from the community and internal to the organization who are following along with the implementation of the process, tracking it through its different milestones, and completing quarterly reviews to report back to our campus leaders and also to the board. This broadly inclusive group includes members from all different leadership groups on the campus. It includes members from all levels of the organizations, from all different niches of the organization, as well as community members. And the members of this group were also involved in the planning processes. So they have a very intimate knowledge of the strategic plan, of the goals of the institution more broadly. So they have an advantage when looking at the activities of the college, of seeing the broader picture. Of seeing how the different activities interrelate to the plan, and then of communicating that to community members in a unique way. So for example, if you're walking across campus and a colleague would mention, oh, that new building is built, excellent, or oh, this process has changed in my office, how interesting. The members of the Guiding Coalition are equipped to identify how that connects specifically to things in the plan, and in particular, items of the plan that those colleagues help to develop. So you're seeing how the college is responsive then both to the plan itself, but also to the needs that the stakeholders within the college have developed. What does this mean to the college community and stakeholders? Well, primarily the Guiding Coalition's role is not only to track the progress, but we have a very strong communication role in both directions. So we're communicating to our colleagues, as I mentioned in my example, but also providing feedback through our attendance in various campus meetings, both to the board and to our president's leadership team.
My role really is almost done, because I think what you can see in the discussion from these folks at the table, Lisa will be coming all a bit later, and our student success experience initiative will be talked about. But what I hope you see here is that this process is truly coming to life, and it's being carried by people who are really within the organization, have important roles, but really believe in this process and understand it. And if I had to mention any outcome that I thought was a significant outcome, it is that we are now beginning to see this thing really come to life, and people taking charge, people moving along in alignment around the strategic directions of the institution, but it's not being driven solely by the president or any particular individual. It's a group of people who have really come together and really are committed to the direction of this process. Let me just go through a few things. Most of these have been mentioned, but leadership, if you look at our model, is absolutely crucial. John is a fantastic president, has done a great job over the years, but a president can't do this job alone. And when we came in and did the initial assessment, one of the things that we really observed was that the senior leadership of the institution needed to be reorganized and to be changed. And as all of you know, who are close to higher education, probably organizations in general, this is a very difficult thing to accomplish. But we were able, in fact, to significantly restructure the senior leadership team, not only in terms of the personnel on that team, but also the roles of those individuals. And we now think we're just about there in terms of where the leadership team should be. We're still looking for an academic vice president, but the point is that this is an ongoing task. And one of the things that really, even I've been in higher education for many, many years, in senior management for many years, and the fact of the matter is this has brought home to me how important it is to have a strong leadership team, and we're well on our way to doing that. In terms of reorganizing the academic structure, I think we've already talked about it, but what we're talking about is the whole new set of ideas that you really need to have within your academic structure, basically two parts or two tracks. One devoted to making sure that the existing processes are working well and are optimized and serving students, but the other is to constantly look at the issue of what do we need to do to transform ourselves, what do we need to do to make sure that in this highly disruptive world that we have now, that we are not disrupted, but are a disruptor. And we're beginning to see the people who are working in this track B really begin to produce some fantastic ideas that we believe, wow, they've already borne fruit, but we think there's significant fruit later, and it's going to be a key part of the transformation of the institution. This, of course, leads to the reinvention of existing programs, and I think the Student Success Experience Initiative, which you'll hear about later, is an excellent example of how you can take an established process, but the fact of the matter is it's going to be reinvented over time, and it's going to come from people who are actually doing the work. Something like 70, Norma? It's just extraordinary. And I don't...
Close to 80 people.
Well, anyway, I don't want to steal your thunder, but clearly that's something we're getting there. And in terms of these new programs, one of the things that we really are focused on is that they produce new net revenue. Partnerships are just crucial in these, and we have established some great new partnerships for the institution. We're going to do many more because this is a way essentially to do big things quickly, and Ocean, I think, is a great practitioner of the whole idea of partnerships. We've talked about the reinvention of processes. The other thing that, the other two things that I think are crucial in terms of outcomes that we've seen is that people are now beginning at the institution to ask the first question, which is, whatever I'm doing, am I serving the person or the stakeholder who is served by this process? Do I know what they really need? Have I asked them, but also have I looked at best practices? And certainly when we talk about the Student Success Experience Initiative, you'll see that they really are beginning to look at what students really need and to design the processes to fit those needs as contrasted to designing processes that are what they think are best. So we really are trying to build this in, but it's a very, very difficult thing. And finally, I cannot underline enough the fact that in higher education, we have not devoted the resources, the attention, or the time to the human resources function. And that's one thing that we're beginning to do here. We have new leadership, and they are truly changing the whole sense of employees here of how this organization feels about them and their personal development. And there's no way that you are going to have the talent you need to do the job without having a strong HR function. And we are well on our way to getting that done. So those are some of the outcomes. Over the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to see, I think, significant changes in terms of the institution's programs and, frankly, its long-term success.
I have to say, we have had a wonderful interim Vice President for Academic Affairs help on this process, Dr. Carol Brown, and I also would like to include her into the success of this program. This initiative was originally, it has come from the Charting Our New Course process, but especially from strategy number 7, which is a focus on relentless, continuous improvement, learning, and support processes. And so it's going to be organic, it's going to be a constant thing, we're going to be changing. Strategy 7 is going to just keep their eye on these changes and processes that we're going to do. But the main one that we are really working on now is the student success experience, and it really does bring to that Strategy 7 the spirit that it was meant to be, and why we have this. And it causes that really laser focus on the implementation of changes developed by this process improvement committee. But we started out with a task force. From the task force, we went to creating positions, coordinator positions, which were very key, and you're going to hear from them very soon, one of them. And then from that, we created subgroups and team leaders, and we also have a team leader here with us tonight who's going to give you that perspective as well. And then they went in to work, and they really, close to 80 people have been working diligently and very hard on this process. We kept them to deadlines. They were right there with it, and we're going to also express some of that success. But the work of this student success experience, and especially with the task force, illustrates that strong linkage between strategy number 7 and all of the other strategies, which I think are very important as well. The strategies of leadership, innovation strategies, understanding stakeholders' needs, talent, development, and one big one that I want to mention is collaboration, breaking down those silos, getting all areas of the college working together. The collaboration has been tremendous, and then leveraging information and results. So while I could stand up here and tell you how excited I am about this process and how wonderful, you really don't want to hear from me. You want to hear from the people who are involved.
So what is the student success experience? We affectionately refer to it as the SSE. The student success experience seeks to offer all our students with access to programs and services that aid in their development, growth, and success. When we look at this slide, the student success experience connects students reliably with resources they need to achieve their individual academic and personal goals. Our students have unique needs, and we have made a profound commitment to addressing those needs. And I can't express fully how grateful I am to be part of this, because I know everyone here is as dedicated and committed to our students' success. The SSE builds a vital campus culture of engaged and capable learners who are co-creators and designers of their own pathways to success in a diverse and global society. Our students are up against a lot today. They have so much that they have to deal with, so much disruption, and the world is so different. It's constantly changing. And what we're trying to do is enable them and empower them to be able to meet and face those challenges. The SSE offers and ensures access to comprehensive programs and services designed to empower all students. We want our students to be confident, we want them to be responsible, and we want them to be intentional learners. And again, just as Dr. Betts had mentioned, this is a very collaborative and highly participatory experience. So many of us worked together for the first time, and it was definitely one of those moments where we really got to know each other in a different way and support and share knowledge and information. And I think, there's so many wonderful things that came out of this particular initiative, but that collaboration, that interaction was really, really critical.
And just thinking about my role as a team leader coming into this, we were all invited back in the fall to attend our kickoff, and that was held up here where almost all of the participants in the program, so as Dr. Betts said, almost 80 folks from across the campus, some folks who hadn't been out of their offices, or folks from faculty, from administrators, all across the board. We all came together, and it was a day filled with fun activities for us, just to get to know some of the other folks. So I think that dips into the other strategies that have been mentioned along the way. But then by the end of it, we knew that our ultimate goal was, from that point on, we were going to be coming together in our individual teams to get together and start to take a look at the what it is that we do on this campus. So my group in particular, the group that I led, was the group on the student experience on this campus. And as I've come to know it, it became the catch-all group for this student success experience, because as we'll describe as we went through, just about anything that wasn't getting discussed on any other group landed with my group for us to take a look at it. And I think we talked about this collaboration across the board, but it was time that we set aside to dedicate that we probably would not have otherwise made the time for. And it's proven for me, by the list of recommendations that are starting to come out of this, it was truly time well spent with my colleagues on this campus.
So process mapping. I joke around a lot that my master's degree is in English, so process mapping was a very new concept for me. And I have to thank Sheena Hardigan and Keith Bunn so much, because they, again, in terms of sharing knowledge, they shared so much with me. And now I can honestly say that I'm very proficient in process mapping. I feel it's such a useful tool, and it's something that we definitely are utilizing in areas beyond the student success experience. So what is process mapping? Expresses what an entity does, who is responsible, to what standard a process should be completed, and how the success of a process can be determined. And all of this happens in terms of the way we process our steps from the student perspective. That's really, really important to note that. It creates an opportunity to learn about process steps, or the sequence of actions that comprise a process. It improves our efficiency, identifies areas needing additional support. Subcommittees were tasked with identifying areas of change based on what the process is versus where the college wants it to go. And as an example, we identified, manual steps, those things that are time-consuming that really can be dealt with differently, and transforming those steps and maybe to electronic processes. For example, applications, rather than having paper applications, submitting them, and then, using up so much time and energy. It's easier if we can develop electronic forms, and that's just the conversations that we had. And I think what Dr. Brown and Dr. Betts, you've described it as the low-hanging fruit, the things that we can immediately change, and that was exciting to see people having conversations and making these changes. So sometimes it was just a matter of connecting areas with resources that are already in place. And another thing that we wanted our teams, our subcommittees, to think about is quality management. We wanted to make sure that they were really taking the time to create these maps, so to ensure the efficiency of what we do, and to make sure this is the most efficient process and way to do things. If you look in your folder, you'll see that we have an example of a process map. It's from our graduation subcommittee. And as you can see that with this particular map, it was created, and this is something I really want to emphasize, all the process maps were obviously created from the student's perspective, but the processes were as is, as we are doing it now, not as we'd like them to be. The maps were created to not be complicated. That was very intentional. We wanted everyone to be able to see the steps and, maybe to see the areas where there are deficiencies and try to figure out how to resolve it as a group and as a team, just a great way to see what we're all doing and how we can either maybe, pat ourselves on the back, this is actually going well, or say, look, we need to make a change, and it's important that we really evaluate how we are doing things.
Most of the subgroups within this initiative found ways to include student input. My group in particular, we invited students to join in our team meetings because what we were realizing is in the beginning we were starting to go through these processes, and a lot of times you think what the student experience is on the campus, but the best way to find out is to ask them. And so we included students within our discussion. We also were able to reach out and survey our students, and then we took some of that data that we were getting back and included that within our recommendations that we came up with out of our team. And it was so great because a lot of the feedback we were getting from students supported some of the recommendations that we wanted to make, but they also helped shape some of those recommendations coming out of the student experience subgroup that we had.
The outcomes. Jen already touched on the incorporating the student perspective, but I also want to comment on that because, having students come to these subcommittee meetings and interacting with faculty, administrators, and staff was actually very, very interesting, exciting, eye-opening. Our students are very honest. They're very smart, and they're extremely savvy. And I think what's amazing about that is, they have such great ideas, and then when you hear them, you're just like, oh, why didn't I think of that? And they really gave us, just like Jen said, the opportunity to really look at, how we're doing things, but also how to shape the recommendations that we have. So we had surveys and we had focus groups. In terms of the interdepartmental communication, that to me is very rewarding. And I would describe myself as a warm and fuzzy type person. So meeting other people on campus and getting to know them is very important to me. And it's just that simple human act of just having a conversation with others. And again, sharing and participating and getting everyone excited and engaged and seeing everyone excited. I mean, there wasn't a single subcommittee meeting that I attended where people were not energized, talking, and unifying.
There were a lot of aha moments that came out of some of those discussions, not just the ones that I was leading, but I was also invited to attend some of the other subgroups and provide insight into the processes directly related to student life, which I'm a part of. And so just taking a look at things in terms of our admissions and recruitment and continuing education and looking at, how we're tracking prospective students, a lot of aha moments coming out of that. And that's where a lot of the recommendations are coming from now that are going to be put back to the task force.
Definitely. And then in terms of talent development, developing, guiding, and mobilizing our amazing OCC community to further contribute to the success of our institution and our growth of our college, again, is very exciting. And just seeing people try to reimagine their areas, I think that's important, and that make them feel empowered. So as much as we want to empower our students, it was really empowering for those who participated. And I think that's significant. People felt heard, they felt valued, and they contributed. And I think that's something that, really had a deep impact on all of us that participated in this. Oh, and then the future steps. So we're going to have an event in mid-March next week. And we have 172 recommendations that were forwarded to the task force this week. And they have the task of grouping and prioritizing the recommendations for our March 16th event. The recommendations then will be forwarded after the March 16th event to PLT. And we really look forward to seeing, how this is going to develop and grow. And the event's going to be a lot of fun because just like the first event, it was just like a great time to get together, engage in activities, and really, again, maybe just try to reflect on what we did as a team and as a group. And I think that's important to have that that part of it as we, end this particular phase.
And we're already starting to see certain changes start to happen, where we weren't collecting inquiry cards from prospective students who come to our campus for particular events. That transition of information, that's starting to happen already. Just based on those discussions, people are already taking the initiative to make certain changes. So it's really exciting to see that happen because we know where that was coming from.
So knowing that we're going from actually theory to practice here and executing the strategies that have been developed. And one of the key indicators, and the one thing that we really try to focus on, is the thought of innovation. So we were very fortunate last year to receive a grant from the Foundation of Investors Bank and to focus on STEM in middle to high school. So we came together as a group and a team and said, what are we going to do with this? What does a STEM Academy mean? How are we going to format it? What type of programs are we going to deliver? So keeping that in mind, the other thing that comes in mind is partnerships. So those two thoughts were on the table when we created the STEM Academy. Knowing the fact that we want to bring together K-12 because we always need a funnel of enrollment and having that enrollment hat on all the time. The other part is knowing the innovative programs that we have just reinvented, as well as the partnership that we're developing with NJIT. How do we grab all of those pieces together under one umbrella and format a program? And basically that's what we did. So we pulled together the K-12 school district and we said, well, we need an underrepresented school district in the county. And we were able to knock on the door of Toms River South High School, and we had been working with them already because of our college readiness grant, and we're very successful with them with that. So we took that one more step ahead. And they were very gracious with us and said, sure, we're willing to participate with you. So we took Toms River South High School. We had a group of high school juniors who were taking chemistry. And through our STEM Academy, we were able to bring one of our faculty members out to the high school and do a series of workshops. They did 4 workshops there, as well as a big kickoff event where we were able to bring together 400 high school students in the gymnasium with the Liberty Science Center to basically show them that science is cool, STEM is cool. That's what we're trying to get across to our students. So we did that, and actually today was the STEM Day, big STEM Day here on campus for our high school students. They arrived here this morning at 7:30 a.m., nice and sharp and bright and sunny and very excited to get started. And we brought them into our new student center, and what do they say, Dr. Larson, when they enter? Wow! So I'm always happy to hear that big wow as soon as they take their first step in. And that was really a really nice event where we had a little breakfast with them, gave them a little introduction, and then we sent them out on their way. And the students had the opportunity to go to 4 different workshops. We had our planetarium, which we always have here, but it was newly invigorated because the folks in the planetarium did a program specifically for this population. So it was different, it was new, it was wild, and it really was targeted at this particular age group. So that was one. The second one was we did a crime scene. So we did some things in forensic science. So we had some of our faculty in criminal justice who set up a crime scene. It was actually a bomb-making plant or something crazy like that they put together. And the students took their the fingerprints and whatever they collected. They had guns and knives and all different kinds of crazy things. And they actually took that information over to our science center into the chemistry lab and analyzed it. So they were able to use that equipment, and boy, did they have a great time. One of the other programs we had, or workshops, was we did some things in mechatronics. So some of you out there are developing your own mechatronics programs, but we had a company called Festo Didactic that we're, again, partnering with, who were so gracious, and they came to campus, brought their equipment, and our students were able to put their hands on and actually see what advanced manufacturing is and where the technology is going and the careers that are out there for the future. And I think they made some little salt shakers and some ratchets and a bunch of little things, and they were able to experience that. What we're going to be doing is, actually, let me finish that thought. At the end of the day, they came back into our science center, or actually our student center, another big wow. And we had a photo backdrop, and we had beakers and dry ice and bubbling things. And then we had our new reinvented mascot, Vidar, the Viking, walked around with our students, and they took all kinds of pictures, and they had a wonderful time. And it really was great to see the activity, and they want to come back. And that was the thing, just getting them excited about the discipline of STEM, but also getting them excited about Ocean County College. And that really was the focus of the day, and I think it was successful. We will be recreating this event on May 14th here on campus for our second STEM Day, where we will be working with about 125 middle school age kids who are from nonprofit organizations. So we're working with Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and some other organizations from the county. And we will be bringing those middle school children here to our campus for a full day of STEM. And hopefully, we will be bringing them, one of the other places we'll be bringing them will be our nursing building and setting up simulations, because we think that will really knock their socks off to see all those bodies in the beds and all that kind of stuff going on. The last part of the STEM Day and the STEM Academy has to do with what are we going to do next. So our team is starting to think about it, and I said to them the other day, the next step of this is, yes, we touched 65 students at Toms River South. How do we expand it? Where are we going next year? And of course, living the last 24 years of my life in online learning, I said, gee, this is going online. So we've begun to have those conversations about how now we could take these concepts of STEM is fun, reaching out to high schools, and hopefully next year we're going to be able to touch at least 5 or 6 or however many high schools and culminate it with one huge activity at the end of the year. So that's sort of the direction that we're going with in the STEM Academy. And again, living out the dream, I think we've touched on many of those factors and characteristics of what these folks developed prior to my arrival to Ocean County College. But it's really exciting to be able to look at those areas, and especially for me, the partnerships, because we can go so far in creating partnerships and bringing everybody under the umbrella.
So you're probably wondering, how are you tracking all of this? So essentially what we've done is mapped out all of the major initiatives and projects and linked them directly to all of our strategies. What we're doing is looking at these updates and the progress of them on a quarterly basis. So each quarter, I'll send out an email to what we've called strategy leaders. So these are the individuals who have been tasked with really overseeing the progress of that strategy. I reach out to those strategy leaders and I send them a massive Excel spreadsheet which has all of those mappings. What they're looking to do is reach out to the project owners. So each of those projects and initiatives have project owners who again are leading those different initiatives. There's a column where they'll be able to input all of their progress. And more importantly, there's also a column where they can identify what resources are needed. So that's that beginning step of beginning to link that planning and budgeting process. These resources could include human resources, and they can also include financial resources. During that quarterly review process, they are also identifying action plans if there are any issues that come up during the progress of that project or initiative. They identify what the issues are, and they also have a plan to overcome those obstacles. It's all within a narrative form. To further strengthen the link to the planning and budgeting process, we really are looking at resource allocation based on the prioritization of these strategies. We want to allocate those resources in relationship to all of the strategies that we've discussed. Now, more importantly, again, we're getting down to the data, which is why I'm speaking to this one. We're looking at our metrics. We're hoping to finalize our executive level key performance indicators by the end of this fiscal year. So these are your broad-based indicators. These are indicators that the cabinet, the president, and the board of trustees would be looking at to see, well, how is Ocean County College doing in reaching their strategies? So if we look at, let's say, strategy 2, for example, where we're looking to build our resilience, we're looking at academic structure, we're looking to grow our enrollment, which, by the way, definitely take a look at that 2020 vision to see where we want to go with our enrollments. It's fantastic. So if we're looking at that strategy, we may come up with an executive level key performance indicator of, let's say, overall enrollment. We would then set a target, and you would be able to see and gauge how we are doing in reaching that target. What we really want to do is have a gradual expansion, so taking it from that macro level and bringing it down into the departments, so that departments can see how their work, how their activities are moving the institution forward and reaching their overall strategies. So going back to the example that I just gave of strategy 2, perhaps the director of admissions is really focusing on growing first-time student enrollment. Then maybe one of their KPIs would be increasing first-time student enrollment. When they look at that, they'll be able to see how that enrollment is impacting the overall institutional key performance indicator. And that's all I have to say about the metrics. But it's extremely interesting from where I sit, because I receive all of those updates and I'm looking at all of the strategy maps, and to see all of the work being done on campus that's pushing the institution forward and reaching these strategies. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's a great process. So with that being said, I'm now going to turn it back over to Dr. Larson.
Thank you very much, Alexa. Let's give a hand to our wonderful panel here. We are terribly, terribly fortunate to have so many talented young folks here on the team, and I think we're only showing you a small percentage of the people who are working on this project, and it's something that I'm very proud of, to see how well they have taken the task up and carried it out. I want to say thank you to all of you for taking the time to listen to this program. I know it's long and involved and complicated, but for us it has been an extremely important initiative, and as you can tell from the enthusiasm you heard here today, it's working, and it is actually transforming the institution. We're getting better everywhere, and we're deciding to do things we have never done before. So we're rewriting our mission statement in a way that we hope will make us resilient for the long term. We want to leave a legacy here that the people who follow all of us will be able to carry on a program that keeps this institution viable for the long-term future. And if we can do that, we'll all have done our job well. So thank you all very much.